Hey, Wade.
Morning, Rob. How's life treating you today?
Weird climate change weather here in the Philippines went from pretty cool because of the typhoon to hot as balls now. So we're back to
Wow.
temperatures out here in Manila. How about you, man?
The weather's finally getting nice here. I actually go outside today. Remember
Whoa.
outside? You
You
know,
actually go outside?
that's where all the people are, and I hate those guys.
I thought you hate
But
people. So,
it's nice out. So,
just
well,
to
my
start
friends
off
are
some
invisible.
things, I wanted to make some announcements. And before I said anything about the show, I wanted to thank you, Wade, for being such a vital proponent for the success of this show. I had the pleasure of doing not the pleasure, but there was one time I did the show without you. It wasn't the same, and that's when I investigated Bob Freeman, the occult investigator. We had a bit of a miscom when it comes to scheduling. But the thing is,
That
aside from
it was actually right after daylight savings.
yeah,
Everything was off over here.
and to be totally
I got
honest with you, like everything was so different without you around. And to be honest with you, I'm just thankful that I have you as my co-host on the show because it had so much substance. And you imagine a number of interesting people we've had on the show. I mean, would you ever think that when we conceptualized Magic.TV, we'd have legends like Duquette and Phil fucking Hine on the show? Did you ever think we'd make it that far, brother?
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about where it was going to go. I was just happy to get it started.
And you know
I
what? I just wanted to
wanted to
to shout out to all of the amazing guests that have been on the show. Thank you so much for all that you've given. I mean, these guys are all gentlemen, each and every one of them. Interesting fellows. We've learned so much from all of them, from Marco Visconti to Dave Stolowitz, Dr. Weiss to Phil Hine to Craig Williams, Mr. Stenwick, and God knows who else has been on the show with us. And it's a growing thing, and I'm just so proud of what it's become. So yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank each and every one of you. And with that, I want to show
Kings
some
and Titans, everyone.
exactly, but more to
Uh,
come, man. Season 3 is gonna be dark, man. You see some of
really?
the lineup we have for season 3, dude. I am literally excited for that. Like, Dr. Weiss said that he's going to talk about the Pulsa Dinora and Jewish attack magic. And we've got also coming up the author of Frederick Nietzsche and the Left Hand Path. And there's rumors that a celebrity occultist that people that's been making news on TV might be able to get on the show through the help of Marco Visconti. And let's not jinx it. Let's not say who the name is yet. But if he gets on the show, it's going to put us on the map. And I really want to have him on the show because I really support his cause. I think he deserves, let's not say his name, but I think he deserves the justice that he's due. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, oh
So
yeah.
like, it's an exciting time. And with the season ender as well, we've got to see the end season 2. We're going to be announcing it later tonight, but just a bit of a current events. First and foremost, thank you to Denny of Foolish Fish of being the gold standard of occult current events and book reviews on the internet. You are saving people a lot of money. Like, if I want to know if a book is worth it or not, I'll just message Denny. Denny, should I get this book? It's like, Robert.
Nice.
We didn't have that back in the day, right? Did we, Wade? We were just like, I
Oh
got
my
this book
God.
right now.
When I was just a mageling, I remember trying to buy books out of a catalog from international imports, and there's like a couple of lines, and of course they want you to buy the book. So you're looking at this like, is this going to be any good? Do I want to spend $6 on this? And you mail it away, and then it comes in like weeks later, and you look at it, you're like, yeah, this was crap. But I'm out in the middle of the Appalachians. Where the hell am I gonna go and get anything?
Well, imagine how I feel. I mean,
Yeah, it's a lot of guesswork.
So anyhow, let's just do some current events to support the people who's been on the show. Our ever so beloved Dr. Jeremy Weiss has a course this month on crystal gazing and crystallomancy by the Temple of Miriam. It's, if I'm not mistaken, April 22 from 10 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. via Zoom. And if you want to become a better seer, I really recommend you check this out because Dr. Weiss is a plethora of knowledge, and he's hilarious, right? Dr. Weiss is like the
Yeah, Great guy.
Great guy.
And that's actually that's a fun subject because that, no pun intended, that goes really deep. I mean, you can do a lot with crystal gazing.
Amen to that one. So check out Dr. Weiss's page, templeofmiriam.com. And let's also not forget our, death metal occultist friend straight from Italy, Mr. Marco Visconti, is opening also a program this May 20th. It's his Magic Without Tears 4-month course. It's an expanded course, I think, about magic, tarot, and everything in between. It's worth the investment. And what I like about him, he actually offers installment payments. So it's, I think if it's not mistaken, €300, but you don't need to pay it all up front. Just put a down payment and you could pay the workshop throughout the 4 months. So it's not half bad for 4 months of training from somebody who wrote an amazing book. Because I finally got a copy of his Magic of Aleister Crowley and the Aleister Crowley manual. I keep mixing up the names of the two. The Aleister Crowley manual. And man, if he teaches the way he writes, you're going to learn shit. Like people asked me in my blog post, Wade, what did you mean about the first statement about the tenebrous darkness and blah, blah, blah? And I was like, I was using it as an example of how not to write. And I was using it why we need authors like Marco. You know what I mean? We need authors like who write in English, who will be the bridgeway for new people to get into the occult. So Marco Visconti is such a gentleman with that. And
I mean, back in the day, you could write like H.P. Lovecraft, and everything was, the vast shrieking gulfs of time. You're like, that's really dramatic, and that's cool that this is fiction. I'm trying to learn something practical. I'm trying to pay attention, and it's like you don't have to whip your audience into a froth over every sentence. It's not, you're not Vincent Price.
Exactly. I totally agree with you.
It's cool and all to get your ideas across. Sometimes you just want to tone it down and get the information out.
All right. So we got Heather on the stream. Hi, found you. Yay. Welcome, Heather. Bright blessings. Welcome to the show. We're happy to see you. And also, congratulations on Dennison coming out with his new book. It hit its Kickstarter goal, and we're all excited to get our hands on that one. I do know that because of the publishing, he wasn't allowed to release pre-releases of it yet. So let's support him if you were one of the few souls who weren't allowed to get or weren't able to get on the Kickstarter, please support Denny of Foolish Fish by purchasing his book when it comes out. Very proud of him for that. And also check out Phil Hines' website, enfolding.org. This is more for the academic occultist. You want to have us read with your cup of coffee. Phil Hines, enfolding.org, has got some latest, greatest, amazing stuff. But I will never forget mentioning web pages without mentioning Scott Michael Stenwick's webpage. Damn, if you're a ritualist and you want to take your ritual magic to another level, if you want to practice new things, his operant field articles and his entire website, I just don't know how to pronounce it, Algides, but Scott Michael Stenwick, the website, it's a plethora of amazing knowledge. His studies of the rituals are second to none. And with that, we're probably going to have to ask him to be on again in season 3 because there's some rituals I want to ask him about. So tonight's topic.
Can you put up a link to the site?
Yeah, let me see if
let me
see if I can find it because this is one of those informal episodes. I can just find it. I know it's got like an interesting name to it. It's Algides or something. I don't know how to pronounce it though. He's gonna kill me for that one. But I love his stuff. I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. And if you're a practicing magician, this will really take you places. I cannot find it. He will kill me. All right, so tonight's topic I think we found it. It's ananiel@blogspot.com, okay? And I will post that right now so that everybody see. Is it like I think the content of the page is pristine, but we're in a bit of a modern time right now, Scott. And hey, Mr. Visconti, what's up, man? We're just talking about you. So anyhow, I honestly think that you should change your URL to something like operantmagic.com or something like that. That'll go a long way. So there you go. That's Scott Michael Stenwick's webpage, ananiel.blogspot.com. Find a lot of interesting stuff. We were just talking about you, Marco. Heck, if you want to be on the stream, let us know because we're talking about Goetic magic tonight because Wade and I had a bit of a discussion because we recently got our hands on something interesting. An interesting lady, I think from Romania, I keep forgetting her name, and I actually do want to invite her to the show, offered a course on working with the spirit Andromalius. And to be totally honest, it was affordable, which was my first green flag. It was a 1-day workshop where she went on Zoom and she talked about working, what you need to do. It had a lot of PowerPoint presentations to it, good stuff. And then she talked about the actual summoning of Andromalius. He's at the gym at the moment, so he's like lifting. All right, more power to you, and more
What a time to be alive.
So anyhow, yeah, her name is Camelia Elias. Okay, and interesting lady. She was talking about her connection with the spirit Andromalius. She's got her own website, and then she offered that training online. I was observing it, and it did make sense how she was expressing. I sent you the video link, right? We both purchased it, right? We both purchased the $10 things. We gave her $10, and then what happened was we watched it came to with a nice PDF and a video to it. And I was going to get your take on it as a Goetic mage. Do you think that this is a way you would approach? Is it an eclectic way? Is it an effective way? Or would you personally say, Rob, this is a bit too chaos magic for my taste? What's your take?
You know, in my experience with Goetic magic, the ritual is really all about you.
Uh-huh.
It's all about you. They're sitting there, they're waiting for they're desperately waiting for employment. The ritual is really all about what needs to get you in the space to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in the Tempest is I can call spirits from the vasty deep. Well, yes, but do they come when you call? The whole point of Goetic magic isn't calling them. It's being able to listen.
So for all you know, they're already there, right? They've already been for all you know, they're already there. You know,
they are already there.
They were already
had an interesting take on that.
Kind of like what happened between us and Belial, right? Where he was kind of lurking around us before we actually worked with him. What was Crowley's take on it?
Crowley's take when he did the first time I read the Goetia, it was the small green edition that I wish I still had because it was adorable. They had like the black letter text and it was minuscule. It was so strange. So, but they said in the initiated interpretation of ceremonial magic, he said that the Goetic spirits are portions of the human mind.
Yeah, isn't that like a psychological approach?
It's well, at the time, I didn't want it to be true. I wanted them to be real live demons from hell.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was an angsty teenager kind of thing, and it was, I want demons. So I had the, I had that whole thing going on. So I was just like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and went on with it. And you know what? I'm calling them, and but the first one just about freaked me out. When you were physically seeing them with your own eyes was strange. Mm-hmm. But after a while, I realized that like he was right and he was wrong. Because when he says they're the portions of the human mind, I thought, okay, continue. And then he says, well, the thing about destroying your enemies just excites compassion, so he's no longer your enemy. Or you learn to understand, like, even a child can understand what a cat's saying, so that's how it teaches you, how they help you understand the language of animals. And I realized that that's where he went wrong, is he tried to normalize it too much. He tried to downplay the fact that these are essentially in my experience, these are like the little icons that you can click on your computer desktop. Mm-hmm. That it's just a little thing, but it opens a whole different subroutine that goes into like, latent psychic powers and all of the, so-called supernatural abilities that humans have. That these are the ways that you can trick yourself into using them. Mm-hmm. Is by using the spirit as a symbol. So yes, they're portions of your the human mind, but like Juan Duquette says, who knows how big your mind is?
It is, yeah.
Suppose I'm talking to, the spirit Gronkymiphilis, and I summon Gronk, and I tell him like, hey, I need you to talk to Rob. Well, for all I know, Gronkymiphilis is the part of both of us that's kind of connected to both of us. So these things could be part of
Collective unconscious,
each
right?
human, collective unconscious. It could be part of each human, but also part of each other.
That's
And
amazing. And
that's a
actually,
great way to look at it. I don't know
I
if
think
that's the model that actually is the truth, but I know that that works.
it's funny because I think you interrupted Marco in his workout. He chimed in. He said it should be said that Crowley changed his perspective completely in later years. He wrote the initiated understanding of ceremonial magic in the foreword of the Goetia in the 1900s. By the time he wrote Magic Without Tears, he went full on spirit model. All right, yeah. Well, okay, because like
What's fun is
personally,
he was right both times. He was
well,
right both times.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. And if you're going to ask me Rob Rubin's take on it, I'm more for the spirit model. I think that they need to exist psychologically, but there is something sentient and it's outside of us, and it's only our minds that can fully understand and fully grasp that. But that goes back to what I was going to ask, though, because like this girl who did this workshop, I was very impressed by the outcome. She's the founder of this thing called Aradia Academy, and she has a page there. For only $10, you can get the evocation of Andromalius. It seemed very simple compared to what you and I did when we prepared for Belial. And I was just going to say, would the simplicity affect the effectivity of the evocation, or in other words, would it make it easier but not as effective? Or what would you say? I mean, just since it's a lot more simple than what you and I did. Like you and I prepared this for months doing this. This one was done on the fly on a Zoom session. So what's your take? Stronger or what?
Well, that was actually I got sidetracked by my own answer there. Honestly, if it's what's working for her, it's completely valid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been times that I've, some of them, like I'm riding on the BART train, I'm on my way to work, and I'm summoning them. That I see them across the aisle, sitting in the seat there.
Pause.
Between two other commuters.
I got to jump in on you on this. Was that a first summoning or was that a communication? Right?
No, that was not a first summoning.
Oh, exactly. Because I don't think you could do a first summoning on the BART train.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can, but you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
In San Francisco, that's
until you've established a working relationship and you have established a pact with these guys. It's not so much that they're malicious and they'll do things to mess you up, is that they don't understand the parameters of their job at the time.
Yeah.
When you're on your way to work, you're on your way to a job interview or something, and you tell them like, hey man, I really need some money. Guess what? I'm going to crash the train and you get a huge settlement. You don't want that.
I agree with you.
Want that.
So, is it safe for us to say as Magic.TV pioneers that for the initial first summoning, you can't do it on the fly, but if it's something that you've worked with regularly, you could probably do it in the break room of your office?
Yeah, you can do it all the time.
Okay, but the other way around is not.
You can have the constant chatter in your earpiece, with them. After a while of working with them, it gets like that.
Yeah,
you'll be sitting there doing something completely different, and hey, boss, hey, you got to take care of this. Like, okay, but you haven't, unless you set up the boundaries where like you can't bother me until I summon you, which is some bullshit. But you end up just having all of your imaginary friends that are just kind of hanging out with you. But definitely. Yeah, for a first summoning, you definitely want to have it more formal. Mm-hmm. I don't think there was anything specifically wrong with what she was doing. It might have been a little incautious. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I'm a cautious guy.
Well, actually, because the way I'm looking at it, if we're going to augment it with what you were saying, maybe she's already had a working relationship with Andromalius. That's why it was so much easier for her, right?
Maybe, and maybe she set it up to where she's telling him like, hey, I'm going to have a bunch of students calling on you. Just play along, work with them.
Can you drop by?
And
definitely.
Yeah.
But another thing I'm going to ask you though was like, but you wouldn't. So it would be enough to officially say that for a first Goetic summoning, you wouldn't recommend eclectic for the first appearance between you and a spirit, right?
Honestly, you can, as long as you take the time. If you include in that if you include in there some kind of establishing of the working relationship,
Uh-huh.
Going eclectic is fine.
All right. Well, actually, Marco just threw down. Is this Carmela Ilias? Because if so, she's a very experienced practitioner, rather well known here. Yes, it is actually, and we do want to get her to be on the show eventually. I'm just curious because I took her workshop and I was impressed by it, but I was kind of like saying for a first timer, I would be a little bit concerned that this is just a little bit too easy. Like if I just took the class and I want to jump straight into working with Andromalius, would it work? Versus if her, I'm pretty confident she already has been working with the spirit for quite some time. Which brings me to the next level. How can it differ if the way we did it, where we did the fasting, like when we were going to do the Belial thing, you told me, all right, you're going to prepare this, you're going to get your best suit, you're not going to get laid for how many days, you're not going to touch yourself, you're not going to have any of that, you're going to fast, you're going to prepare all this stuff. Like we really built up and built up and built up. Is that something we only need to do on the first go? Or is that something we need to do every time we summon the spirit?
Well, this comes back to my model of magic. Is I like to think of things that I like to think of these every element that you add to it like spell points, like you would have in a game. Do you want to put 2 points into this particular thing? Do you want to put 50 points into this? How hard do you want to go with this? And you say, okay, well, you could just blow 2 or 3 points, light a candle in your room and say your little incantation to them, you'll get 2 points worth of results.
Okay.
But everything else you add into it, you go to a canyon in the middle of the night that's like on a where a slaughterhouse used to stand, and you've got your black robes and you've got your 9 acolytes, and they're over there, and every time you say the demon's name, they all chant the name after it, and you've got the candles and the banners hanging up and the big bonfire, and everything else you add into it adds more points to it. It makes it more, like I said, the ritual is entirely for you, but everything you have. Are you familiar with the Golden Dawn Crown of Rays?
Yeah,
they have this the thing where everything that would distract you is now focused on your target. If you're meditating and you're trying to focus on your third eye and there's a dog barking, you're just visualizing the dog barking at your third eye. So even that distraction redirects back to what you're doing. So every given thing focuses on. But now here, everything you look around at, everything you see, all of your apprentices chanting, the fires, the candles, all that, everything is directing your focus onto this demon. So it's all just
they
contributing
stack.
to absolute focus.
They stack. And it's funny because and don't get me wrong, I am not at all downplaying Carmela's output. I'm simply just academically amongst practitioners comparing and contrasting it. I really would love to get her on the show one of these days because I really appreciated her work. And actually, I might even buy a reading from her soon. She seems like a very interesting person to get a reading from. Which brings me to the next one. There's been a lot of Goetic books lately that have become very available on the internet by people like Gordon something and Damon Brand. And they're just saying to take the sigil, print it out, and meditate on the sigil and say this, and then the demon will answer to you. Now, is that an approach that you would recommend, or is that kind of like speed dialing a mafia boss, asking him for a bag of coke? And
that is a very casual way of going about it. Again, it's less dangerous actually than going the full formal route because it's less powerful.
Really?
It's if you're like, okay, I'm just going to print this out on my inkjet here, and we're going through. I didn't even bother to get special paper for it. I'm just going to go that, cut it out, glue it on a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to call it good, and that's my Laman. Well, it really depends on the juice of the magician at that point. If he's got the absolute focus to summon this thing, sure, print it out on your printer and do it. But for newbies, for new magicians, should definitely put the time in. Maybe not buy the gold Laman that's solid gold all the way through. But the more you make, the more time and effort you invest in something, the better it's going to be. Because when you see it, you're going to be like, wow, this was really something when I made it, and I could feel it all the way through.
Yeah.
So I actually had a neat thing that I did for someone once. I made them a talisman, and I put just a blank piece of metal in their palm. And I did this thing. I passed my hand over it, and they watched it engrave right in front of them. Now, the thing is, it's an optical illusion. It's a magic trick, like a regular stage, Chris Angel style magic. But when they did that, and I didn't even touch their hand, but when I did that, and they watched it like literally appear in front of their eyes, they knew it had to have been some kind of illusion, but also that act really impressed on them the importance of it. So it kind of sunk it in their mind, like, this is really an interesting piece now.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it depends on the impact that it makes on you.
So you're basically telling us that, like, if you're going to do the print and press approach, that's actually less dangerous than actually doing the Stephen Skinner approach, where you find a castle somewhere in the woods, and then that's the one that's going to end the world. Am I correct?
It's less dangerous. It's less effective. I mean, are you skiing the bunny slope, or are you skiing the double black diamond?
I get what you're trying to say. In other words, the first approach, you're building a firecracker, while the later approach, you're building an actual stick of dynamite, right?
Right.
All right. So it's like, it's going to bring us to the third one, where Stephen Skinner's got his Bible of the Goetia of Dr. Rudd and years of academic research. And I mean, that guy is a walking encyclopedia of academic occultism. And what value do we get for going that approach? Because there's like all these prayers, all these baths, all these, like, it's kind of like common sense. What you said, the more you do, the more you get. But like, why would somebody want to go through that whole thing? Like, one discussion we had was amongst mages, does holy water and baptismal water work the same? And some were like, no, you need to get actual baptismal water to do this. You see what I mean? So it showed that, like, it was really anal on the details. Now, the one thing about it is, if you're going to put in those kind of details, will they really supercharge the result? Like, let's say if I didn't do the Skinner approach because I don't own a castle yet. Maybe Marco can loan me one of his. But honestly speaking, if I did that approach, would Belial literally come crawling out of the freaking ground and growl at me? What would you think?
To be honest, one of the weirdest manifestations I ever saw of a demon was when you do your summoning and you have the whole thing. And the Ebony had done this one, but I was actually at his place. We're hanging out at his place, and someone comes up, knocks on the door, and he goes over to stay, and he comes back, and he's got this notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the weirdest look on his face. And I said, what happened? And he said, this woman just came to the door and said, Babylon sent me, and handed me this and walked away.
Whoa.
And I thought that's about as close to a straight up physical manifestation as you're going to get.
That's trippy, man.
And so, yeah, I mean, in terms of physically appearing, crawling out of the ground, probably not so much. Full transpossession, absolutely, that can happen.
But then, like, there was another thing that Stephen was mentioning in one of the other podcasts, Glitch Bottle. Check them out on their YouTube page. Really great content about this one guy who fucked up a Goetic ritual and he caused a tornado to happen somewhere in France. And that's, this is Stephen Skinner talking. Stephen Skinner doesn't talk out of his ass. You know what I mean? That, like, somebody he knows.
Was he in France when he summoned it?
Yeah, he was in France when he summoned it, and
okay.
And he summoned the king, and I think either he didn't do the work, the deal properly, or he wasn't specific on what he was doing. That a tornado broke loose and kind of just wrecked the French countryside. So with that, it makes me wonder: are there other kind of spirits in the Goetia? Like, example, if we did with, shout out to Phil Hine, glassy yellow bowlers, aka Glass Yellow Bolas, who is an author and architect of bloodshed, would he cause a war to break out in the country? I mean, if we did it the Skinner approach, what do you think?
Well, that's the thing is, like I was saying before about the BART train, is they don't understand the human experience. They don't know. They don't understand that we kind of value the meat suit.
Hmm.
You know, it's where we do all of our fun stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they don't understand, like, oh, well, you know, he's trying to get money. Well, okay, let's go ahead and have one of his kids killed in a school shooting or something horrible like that. They don't understand that we don't want this, which is why
Yeah.
it's so important, absolutely vital. The first time you get them on the horn, you lay down the pack. You put down, like the 3 rules of robotics. You lay down the 3 rules of demonics.
So you need
That
like the
you won't.
triangle and the circle and everything and the sacred underwear.
Whatever it is that you do for it, but you have to make sure they understand. You will not hurt anyone unless that's what I'm telling you to do. That you will not lie to me, or omit any information that I need to know, and you will not tempt me to violate my own moral code, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that last one's really important because they will set up situations where you can be like, yeah, I need money. Oh, here's a little old lady by an ATM and she just set her purse down and started walking away. What do you do with that? You could go.
Path of least resistance.
And it makes you a worse person.
I agree. And the next thing you know, you find yourself as a Goetic crackhead, and we don't definitely don't want that to happen. Which brings me to my next.
You're already a purse snatcher. If you're already a purse snatcher, that's a solid win.
Yeah, but if you're not, yeah, me neither. Respect to old ladies. But it brings me to my next thing. Like, are you the kind of guy that recommends like people use mind-altering substances in order to get a stronger evocation? Like they get liquored up, or they use downers, anything legal like cannabis or something like that? Or would you say, nah, you really want to be sober when you're doing this? What's your take on that?
My take on it is, now as a scryer and a summoner, I have 2 different things for that. As a summoner, I always found that a little bit of alcohol kind of loosens you up like it would for any kind of meeting, but you don't want to be drunk. You definitely don't want to be high. For me anyway. As a scryer, I always wanted to go in just clean. Go in just straight clean. I didn't try it. I found alcohol tends to block my scrying. Like almost completely. Stimulants get you too distracted. I never tried it on psychedelics, never wanted to. But I would think, if anything, psychedelics might make it stronger, but also at the same time kind of ridiculous, because you could be conjuring all kinds of crazy, fantastic stuff out of your head when what you really want is perfectly accurate information.
I see.
So I would say if you're scrying, and sometimes if you're scrying and summoning at the same time, you definitely want to go in just with no alterations.
Not even coffee?
Maybe a little coffee, but probably not.
Point taken. Like, I was going to ask you though, in any of these scenarios, from the print and press method we talked about, which is just print something off the internet, to the more prepared method with the fastings, to the whole castle method, what's the worst that can happen in each?
For the summonings?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't really had anything bad. I've had scary stuff happen, but I've never really had anything bad happen with any of the different summonings. I've had ones where there's, unfortunate events for people around, but really, between one method and another, there isn't really so much as a more dangerous method of summoning, because really you're just opening up lines of communication. It's like, what's the wrong way to make a phone call? Well, if you have the wrong number, is really the worst you're going to come up with. And you accidentally dial Homeland Security, and now they've traced your number, and agents are on their way to your house.
Or you dial some sort of like criminal, and then if you gave him your address, now he's going to come to your house.
Yeah. So, yeah, like if you, remember back when everybody was playing with Ouija boards, and you get the wrong guy, and then he won't leave you alone?
Yeah, that's very familiar.
Yeah, that's probably about the worst that could happen, because the Ouija board was just such a, oh my God, such a awful and an awesome idea at the same time, because it introduces everybody to necromancy, but at the same time, there's zero safeguards.
All right, I just need to take a 1-second break. There's a technical difficulty. I'll be right back. I'm going to make you the main thing right now, but I'm not going anywhere. And then right now, if you're tuning in, this is Robin Wade. We're talking about Goetia and the different practices of it here on magic.tv. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
All righty then. So, I'm taking over the show. I don't think I can block him from coming back on. But yeah, for anyone who's interested in doing Goetic magic, that is definitely one of the first things that you need to do. Is you have to set up working relationship. You need to come up with the rules for what you want, and specifically what you don't want from your spirit friends. And a lot of it is also setting boundaries in your own life, because I saw someone agree to work with this particular spirit, and the spirit said that I need you to build me an altar and you need to leave me a gold coin every month. And this person just agreed to it. And I thought, gold coins are not cheap, but also eventually, even if you could do this, eventually you've got this mountain of gold coins on your altar that is probably going to cause problems at some point.
Agreed with you on that one. And one thing I want to ask you, there's this old wives' tale back in the day that, like, you summon a demon, I'm going to send a demon after you. Is that even possible? Let's just talk. I mean, like, okay, I know the answer to this, but I'm asking this more for the viewers. Like, example, if you summon Furcast, the least of the Goetia, and you sent him to do bad mischief to me, could you summon a higher ranking spirit to, like, overtake him or beat him? What's your take on that?
Honestly, I've had people send them after me.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people send spirits after me, and my spirits told me about it at the time. They're like, "Hey, this guy sent someone, so there's someone here to see you, boss." And the guy comes in, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to attack you."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Well, okay, here's the deal. I want you to work for me instead."
And how did you go about doing that?
I told him that, and I was like, I will offer you autonomy. I will treat you like all of my spirits. I will work with you. I'll always keep you employed. I'll always have stuff for you to do. I will respect you. I will not send you to the house of someone who's going to steal you.
Mm-hmm.
And he agreed. We had a pact.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because sometimes also you get these magelings who get, like, the wiki house on how to summon demons, and then they think that they actually have the gall of sending them after guys like you or me or experienced summoners. And then what ends up happening is they say, yeah, there's this kid who's trying to send shit after you, but I think he's a loser, and I see what you're doing, or I see what Wade's doing, and I'd rather be part of that. That actually happens more common than not. And then what ends up happening is one big ass return to sender. The thing about it, I wanted to ask you, what is your method of detecting when spirits are being sent after you? Do you have a particular method that you can share, or technique that you do?
Well, every time I get to a new place, first thing I do is I lay down a boundary line.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take like a number of railroad spikes or something. I like to use railroad spikes just because there's a railroad handy.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through, you do your sigils on each one, you lay them around, you do like your magic circle, the strongest circle of protection that you can do in your temple with all of these spikes. Then you take them out and you put them around your property. Just drive them in at the corners and along the lines. And that's kind of like your early warning system.
Mm-hmm.
But the best defense, honestly, is having your own spirits.
Yeah.
So if someone's coming at you, they'll snatch him up by the scruff of his neck, and they'll bring him in front of you and let you know, hey, someone's trying to mess with you. But honestly, since they're so useful and they're such a part of you, but also part of other people, it's really kind of foolhardy to send them after everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you never want to attack a mage with magic.
Mm-hmm.
You attack a mage with a pointed stick. You attack normal people with magic.
That's true.
I mean, that's like attacking the fish with water. That's stupid. You know, you say like, well, okay, I'm going after this guy, but I don't want to. I don't want to send you to him. I'm going to send you to mess with his car, or I'm going to send you to mess with his job, or I'm going to send you to, you know, go after his wife or something like that. You have to come at him from the side.
Here's a question I want to
So
ask you. If you have spirits, then why not just work with gods?
gods have their own thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Spirits work for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with angels. The angels work for God. Demons work for you. So if you're telling an angel like, "Hey, I want you to do this," and the angel's just like, "Nah, fuck you," because they can do that because they have a higher authority than the spirits that answer to you,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not yours is
Yeah.
the thing. So if you're going to work with gods, you can draw energy from gods, you can draw influence or powers or whatever from the gods, but then you're doing it yourself on their authority. It's apples and oranges. I like apples. I like having the demons that I can send them off to do the things, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I got a guy on it. That's the biggest draw of Goetic magic, is that you've got a guy. Is that
Somebody
now I don't have to worry if this spell's going to work. I don't have to worry if this thing's going to happen. I got a guy. He's taking care of it, and you can relax and let go of it. That's what it's for. That's the big draw.
This is what I wanted to ask you, though. What are some of the things that you, Wade, do in order to build a deeper relationship with these spirits?
Talk to them. Talk to them a lot. Make them part of your life. I asked one of them, like, how can I make this more powerful? She's like, treat us like we're real. Make us real. Make us part of what's going on. Mm-hmm. I make spirit masks sometimes that I've got. It's just like a face, but it's a cloth hanging with a face on the back of it, so that it comes through in silhouette, and the sigil is painted on the front of the thing. And those are neat. I should actually bring one in at some point and have it on the show. But so you see it every day. Someone's, "Hey, who's that?" "Oh, that's my buddy so and so. This is Gronchimiphilis. This is how I talk to him. This is his door to my world and my door to his." And we talk every now and then. Sometimes I'll go through on his side and ask him what's up. But sometimes you just looking at it, since there is a face, that's a psychological thing. Since it's a thing with a face, your mind is expecting it to say something. Mm-hmm. So you look over at it, you're like, "Hey, what's going on, Gronk?" And it will tell you like, "Oh, well, here's today's report."
And the thing, it's nice to have like each spirit has its own particular flavor of how they want to be dealt with, right? Like in one way or the other, like some spirits like their alcohol, their incense and stuff like that. Others don't. Like example, in working with Belial, I noticed that like the way we work is like I've kind of, at least on Sundays, the very least I will do will be to light some frankincense in his honor, because that's his. That's in attribution to the solar spirits. Now, of course, if there are more things I'd like to ask, I'll give more as well. But one thing that people need to keep in mind, though, is that don't spoil these spirits. Remember, they work for you, okay? But you shouldn't worship them, because I don't think you'd worship your cleaning lady now, would you? And if you did, you'd be giving them way too much power. But of course, you want to treat them with respect.
You want to keep them fed but hungry.
Yeah. More importantly, though, you want to keep that level of respect between the two of you, because if you are disrespectful to them, that's how you find shit on your bed. And I don't think you want that stuff.
Yeah.
So with that being said, kind of gave us an interesting look on how the different avenues of Goetic magic work. And I think we've all agreed on this show that like, if you are first time meeting a spirit, nothing beats the whole temple approach, the whole altar approach, right? The whole, I did the summoning, I did the everything, the fasting, that's more recommended. But you're also saying, and we agreed on this during the show, that if it's a spirit you've been working with a bit more, you can almost communicate with them almost in the same way you can via cell phone. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Sounds
great. It especially if you do like go full formal the first time, it really cements for you and for them the significance of the relationship. because really what they feed on the most is attention.
Mm-hmm.
They want your attention because it's directing part of your life to them. They, like you said, it makes them real. You're
True.
taking it seriously. So if you've gone to the whole lengths of having it, be a very formal thing, then it's more meaningful to both of you,
And
especially the first time.
with that being said, too, what's the value? I was going to ask you of having them engraved in their corresponding metal, their sigils. Does that add to the power of the evocation, from your understanding?
Yeah, it makes it valuable because at that point you've invested something that is very valuable, of intrinsic value, that you've dedicated specifically to them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it makes it more, significant for the both of you. They don't need the gold, but it makes it important to you, so you're putting more attention to them. Are you familiar with Thumos and Phrenes?
No, I haven't heard
In Greek mythology, they had two elements were necessary to summon the dead. Thumos, which was or Phrenes, which was the spiritual component of breath. If you're speaking to them, or even just breathing on their whatever their physical component is, like if it's their skull or whatever, and you're talking to them. But also thumos, which is a fume that comes off of fresh blood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's considered to be the element that gives them body is thumos, and the element that gives them voice is phrenes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always the spiritual component of what you offer them. So if you're offering them gold, well, they don't have any use for a gold coin, but it's the spiritual component of gold, which is what it means to you. So if it's more valuable to you, it's more valuable to them. If you've got a shit ton of gold in the other room, it doesn't mean as much. You see what I'm saying? It has to be precious to you. I mean, you could carve it on uranium if it was more important to you. In fact, with standard access to a lot more interesting metals, yeah, you could have them. You could have it laser, nano etched with a laser on a single carbon molecule that you keep in suspension, and that would be super important. It would be very powerful because now it's something that you've really gone to a lot of great lengths to create.
Imagine making it something out of something like dark matter, which is one of the rarest materials in the world. That would really add to the value of it. So yeah, I mean, that being said, this was a very academic episode, and of course, we're just prepping for the last couple of episodes before we end the season. Season 2 has been, for lack of a better word, amazing. Some great people we've worked with, great guests. We've made some good friends, and shout out to everyone. Once again, don't forget to check out Marco's Magic Without Tears course. It's a 4-month program starting this May 20th. And at the same time, Dr. Weiss's crystal gazing course this April 22, 2023. That's at 10:15 a.m. Check out templeofmiriam.com. And also shout out once again to each and every one of the amazing guests of Magic.tv who made this season just spectacular, for lack of a better word. I mean,
oh yeah.
I was just sharing with you about it, how important this was to me, because before we started the show, I was going through a really bad depression. And after we started doing this together, there's something very, very fulfilling of collaborating, cooperating, and supporting your colleagues in these practices. And it's so refreshing to have these kind of conversations with you, with Marco, with Dr. Weiss, with David. I mean, and everyone. It's like I'm like a kid in a candy store.
It's all about community.
Exactly.
It's all about community. I mean, we've got our guests, we've got our viewers, everyone who participates in the show. I mean, we're nothing without that.
Exactly.
We're a couple of schmucks sitting in our temples, smoking cigars and being awesome, but it doesn't really participate in the community. And really, it's all about participation. Yeah, and that's because we always talk about how great the 90s were. Remember back when there was community? It wasn't just, oh yeah, I'm going to tap on a couple of things on my phone and I'm talking to some people. But back in the day when you actually had to sit there and take over a coffee shop and have you and 20 of your closest friends in there talking magic. That was really something.
And you know what, bro? To be totally honest with you, man, I believe that the collective energy of that magic is coming back. I honestly believe it. I think it's coming back. I think it's pissed off. And I think it's like, oh, fuck it. I ain't going down without a fight. And it's getting its generals together. That's why I think that we got all the support that we needed. And, I'm really thankful for everything that happened. Like I said, season 3, it's going to be a delve into the chthonic regions of magic based on some of the people we got lined up.
Cool.
But you know what? Another thing I want to shout out to, I don't know if everybody watches this, but my utmost salutations to Mr. Jack Grail of the Blackthorn School. I'm enrolled presently in his Hail Hecate program and his PGM program, the Greek papyri, Greek magical papyri, 50 rites, 50 nights. And boy, am I blown away by both. The Hecate program, yeah, man, I'm fucking impressed. I mean, for a guy who does magical academics, one, he speaks English, and you know what I mean by that. In other words, he's not sounding like a highfalutin schmuck. The guy actually speaks very compassionate, understandable, kind English. Number 2, the level of support that he's offering in his pages. Number 3, the simplicity of things. Like the Hail Hecate program that I'm in right now, I thought it's going to be a devotional to Hecate. Actually, I publicly said, this is falsity in advertising, because this is not just dealing with Hecate. This is sorcerous god work. So if you want to be a sorcerer and you want to know how to commune and talk to gods, you will learn it in that Hail Hecate program. Now, the PGM program, 50 Rites for 50 Nights, is 50 weeks. 50 weeks of lessons that you get via video and interaction with Jack, and you get a spell every week. So imagine that. It's like getting a new, it's like think of a video game. Every week you get your new spell, and it's so easy to do. I shit you not, man. Because like sometimes, I don't know who we were talking this with, that the magic gets so convoluted that you're not doing it anymore. You know what I mean? But now it's like, no, now you can actually, this is so simple that if you're not doing it, there's a problem with you. So I would highly, highly recommend Jack Grail's programs in the Blackthorn School. He is such a kind man that I am really going to be asking our bud Belial and everybody in behind me to compel him or to ask him kindly to be on this show, because I'm sure we could learn a lot from him. So with that, Wade, I am proud to announce who our next special guest is going to be, but he's going to be the one closing the season. It's without further ado, we are now announcing the season ender for season 2. This is Rob and Wade from Magic.tv signing off.